Welcome to DJN TV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah. Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of How to Run Wireless Wired Video.
Wired video.
Wired video. Tonight's wired video. Oh, let's try this again. Good evening and welcome to tonight's video of running HDMI signal from way over there to way over there.
Yes, from way over here to way over there, yeah.
Tonight, Ben, this is a topic we've hit time and time again, but we haven't really done a show where we've just specifically talked about HDBaseT. And tonight we do that.
Yeah, and I'm glad we are. And I want to point out, I think this is like a great jumping off point because I noticed in the graphic or the show description, it says Ethernet and HDBaseT. And HDBaseT is not Ethernet. They are not the same. So even though they use the same type of cable, which is a CAT cable, category cable, they are not the same. Now, it's important to know that you can run Ethernet over HDBaseT, but HDBaseT is its own protocol and its own standard and is not interchangeable. You can't use Ethernet switches and that sort of thing with it. So just wanted to, that is a great jumping off point to say they're not the same thing. Video over IP is different from HDBaseT, and we are going to talk HDBaseT because it just works.
It just works. So we're going to change the title, How to Run HDMI Video Over a Kind of Ethernet Type Kind of Sort of Cable, but instead it's an HDBaseT cable.
Well, these are like, I mean, honestly, this is like the Swiss Army knife of cables. You know, you can do so many things with, a CAT cable like that. But just because this is, I think we've talked about this with audio connectors, and of course it has other lessons in life too. Just because it fits doesn't mean you should stick it in there. So,
wow, that's just a topic that we don't really want to get into right now because that would be so many different directions than what we really want to be talking about.
Well, I'm talking about cables and connectors. I'm just saying, just because it fits doesn't mean you should stick it in there.
I thought we were talking about driving and parking cars in garages.
No, but that's, yeah, I used to have a really small garage. And that was,
exactly, and I scratched up the sides of the truck. And then there was at one time I forgot to open a garage door.
Couldn't even get my truck in it. When I got my new truck eons ago, I couldn't get it in there. Forget it. And I just in case viewers are trying to imagine what kind of truck I was driving, it was a 4-door half-ton pickup. It was not a stomper truck or a monster truck by any means, but it still wouldn't fit in this old garage I had. And anyway, it doesn't matter.
So let's talk about it. The ability to run HDMI, we've talked about HDMI cables where 15 to 25 feet for a good quality cable gives you a good image. But sometimes we need to go farther.
Yeah, and I think 50 feet is absolutely pushing it on an HDMI cable. That's my opinion, particularly as we get into things, like 4K, 444. We're getting into some really big data rates, and ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're moving data. This is digital information, so I think 50 feet's really pushing it. I'm sure there are people out there that are maybe using a 100-foot cable and it works. I've used the analogy before. It's kind of like playing in traffic. It's fine until it isn't fine. And I don't like, when I do a show for a client, I don't like to do fine until it isn't fine. But that would be the extreme ultra far end range. And just recently I had a customer who said, I need to go 200 feet and I want to split the signal. And I said, I got you covered.
Right.
So anyway. Actually, as it turned out, he knew what he wanted. He wanted HDBaseT because his projectors already had it built in. But I think I'm getting ahead of us here.
I think you are. You're kind of jumping to that part of it. So when we're talking HDMI cable, going from 25 to 50 feet, or in some cases, people have tried to jump to 100. At those longer distances, now, if they're wanting to run is a 1080p taking more resources so that it can't work as well on a 50? Or is it something that it doesn't matter if it's a 720 or 1080p, it's just 50 or 100 length is just not possible?
No, it definitely matters because as we move up in resolution, it's exponentially greater amounts of data. And there are differences besides just the resolution. There's also things like the color depth, and then there's some Dolby things. And frankly, particularly in the home theater world, there's things that I don't even really care to know about. In fact, everybody on the show knows that primarily I'm an audio guy, though I'm a pretty multi-purpose nerd. I'm like your Swiss Army knife of nerds. Like this is the Swiss Army knife of cables. There's an old saying, because everybody I think knows there's a little bit of a friendly rivalry between lighting guys and sound guys. And there's an old saying, how do you get a sound guy and a lighting guy to get along? Put a video guy in the room. So I only play a video guy on TV, literally your TV right now. But I can tell you authoritatively, and I am a certified HDBaseT trainer, so I certify HDBaseT expert installers. I can say authoritatively that there is more to it than just resolution. And when you think about this, and we're talking about 720 versus 1080i or 1080p, and then when we jump to like 4K, 4K is exponentially more data than 1080p, like 4 times the number of pixels. So it's a lot.
Sure.
And so the more, and of course the demand is coming from customers. They want higher resolution, particularly if you're charging for the service. They're going to want those data rates.
So Ben, let's kind of jump into, give us a kind of a airplane's view, or the 30,000 foot view of what a typical system would look like. And then we'll dig into the wire and the connections and such a little bit more in depth. But give us an overview of what a system to transmit video like that would look like.
Well, specifically an HDBaseT system?
Yeah. For transmitting that video from point A to point B.
Well, so everybody's familiar with an HDMI cable. I hope anyway, because I don't know if I even have one to show you, because I think everybody's seen an HDMI cable. But if not, I've got, I can plug this in here real quick, or rather grab you this. So this is a HDBaseT transmitter. And what we can see is there's a lot here on the input. Okay, we've got our HDMI input, and then we've got an HDMI pass-through. So we could have a local monitor here and our HDMI input. This also has a few other things. We've got left-right audio. We've got some RS-232 and infrared in and out. And these are primarily for control, getting into, think about commercial screen applications and that sort of thing, where we need to control the video device and we want to do that remotely. Maybe we want to have a touch screen that turns on and off all the TVs at one time. Not necessarily things that our viewers would need or want to do. But this shows kind of, I think, really the capability of an HDBaseT system, where all of these things can be run over a single cable. And so what we also see here is we see my CAT connection for my HDBaseT.
Yep.
And notably, this does say Cat5e/6. I'm just going to Cat6a now, pretty much in all cases, because it does depend on, and I've got a chart here I can show you. It depends on your length and your resolution, but buy once, cry once, and as this friend of mine who recently got this HDBaseT system, he said, I want to go 200 feet. And I said, then you're going to go Cat6a. And I think he made the comment like, wow, those cables are expensive. And I said, yes, reassuringly so. And you have the same cable. You have the Cat6a cable. And you know what? It just works. And at the end of the day, I think that's worth almost any cost. But the other thing we see on the other side here is we see a TCP IP. And that is so that we can also have IP commands going on board. So again, HDBaseT has the ability of carrying Ethernet with it, but not vice versa. And so we can embed IP control right onto that HDBaseT. In other words, we're taking about 9 cables worth of data and combining it into one. And then we see a couple other things. I know you and I talked about this in Vegas, the EDID, the display information, and then a general control wheel. The receiver is going to look much simpler. Here we just have our control wheel. We have our TCP IP out because it's carried that from the HDBaseT signal. And then on the other side, we just have some IR and RS-232 and our HDMI out. So short version, you plug it into this side, connect to Cat5, Cat6, Cat6a is what we're recommending here. Cable between these, boom, boom, done. And you're off to the races. The really cool part, and I actually am going to show this picture of HDBaseT cabling in a second, but the really cool part about HDBaseT is it's like DMX. It's a standard. And while HDBaseT is its own consortium, it's its own standard, it is a standard that's shared by many companies. So in the case of my friend, we had, I don't even know what brand Blu-ray player. We had a Hall Research HDBaseT splitter, which was splitting out into 3 HDBaseT outputs. And then we had an Optima and a Panasonic projector, and they were all working together seamlessly and with, just because we had talked about what he was doing, it was very easy. He just plugged it in and it worked. So let me find that picture real quick. I think that's a good thing to share. There we go. Let's turn on the screen sharing.
Dun, dun, dun.
No?
No, not yet.
Not yet. All right, I'll wait. I've got it loaded. I got it locked and loaded.
Go ahead. I'm waiting, but it's nuts. I'm not seeing it. I'm not impressed. Ooh, there we are.
Oh, I was waiting on you.
Oh, I'm just along for the ride here. I've got my dazzling questions lined up.
Aren't we all just along for the ride? So what you can see here is all of these cables, Ethernet, HDMI, our SPDIF audio. We can even carry up to 100 watts of power on HDBaseT. So we could even use like POH to power remote ends, that sort of thing. Audio, RS-232, even USB can all be carried over a single HDBaseT signal. So moral of the story is, one, it's extremely reliable long-distance video, and that's great. Its interconnectivity between brands is great, but it also does so much more should you need to. So, and again, this is really more designed for install, but you can think about the reliability required in install. You really don't want to be getting called back to a job time and time and time again. You know, rework is lost money. And we've done installs in Tokyo. We've done installs in Spain. You know, sending a technician over there is just not practical. So it has to work 99% of the time, and it has to be serviceable remotely in order for that to make sense.
So can a person send, you showed audio there, can a person send multi-channel audio? So you have 2 channels and then another 2 channels, and can that happen over the HDBaseT?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I forget how many channels of audio can be sent, but it's more than 2. I forget, but it is more than 2 for sure.
Yeah, it's just nice to know that if a person got into a situation, it's like, how would I run multiple way over there? There's a possibility.
Another way you could possibly do it, yeah. Now, again, you have to have the ability to embed it and de-embed it. You have to get it in and get it out somehow. Whereas, you know, this, what does this one have? Just, left-right audio. You know, so this is only a 2-channel encoder, I think. But again, with the right hardware, you could. And that's a really cool thing to think about when it comes down to HDBaseT, because the transmitting side will talk to the receiving side and it will ask, you know, what can you do? And the receiving side says, this is all I can do. And the transmitting side says, cool, that's all I'm going to send you then.
Sure.
So, you know, it always defaults down to the weakest link, which of course would be your max limitation anyway. But at that point, then you don't have to worry about things being non-compliant or non-compatible. It basically says, what can you handle? And it might say, I'm an older chip. I can only do this resolution. And HDBaseT says, fine, I'll just step my resolution down to what you can handle then. So everybody's getting along and the thing just works. Another quick little screen share real quick here. And I know we've talked about this model in the past, and it is discontinued, and I'm really going to miss it. But this feature is not discontinued, and we're seeing it more and more. This is the EH515T, and the T is for the HDBaseT, which we can see on here. Let me grab my whiteboard. Let's see. Actually, I can do my spotlight. No, I can't. Zoom's not letting me do it.
No.
I know, right? So there is my HDBaseT port. And we don't need to have a box on each end is the moral of the story. You can have a box on one end and just plug it right into the projector on the other end. In fact, my friend actually made a video that I don't think he'd mind if I shared, so we can maybe do that after a bit. And it shows kind of how he did that. So
let's jump into the wire. You've talked about a couple of different. You've talked about Cat 5. You've talked about Cat 6A. Well, you mentioned also Cat 6. For those who are not familiar, what is the difference between those types of wires?
Well, the long and the short of it, they're all 4-pair digital cables, but they have different spacing characterizations, different twist tolerances, and ultimately, in the simplest of layman's terms, they're designed to carry different rates of data. So Cat 6A and Cat 7 are going to outperform Cat 6, which is going to outperform Cat 5e, which is going to outperform Cat 5. And, we're talking about, moving up from 100, megabits to, a gigabit to 10 gigabit. So that's really important when you're moving around large amounts of information.
Mm-hmm.
I have to turn my phone over. I keep getting messages, and that's very distracting. So thank you, viewers. Thank you, viewers. I love that you want to interact with me, but I am attention deficit, and I must focus on this show.
Yeah, guys, go into chat there. Howie and Robin, DJ Extreme, a lot of Lou is in there. Peter, thank you guys for being with us tonight. But yeah, into the chat room. That's the best spot to put any questions or any thoughts. That way we can talk about them there.
That's because John can read those while he's ignoring me,
Exactly.
But I can't. If I see your message, I have to read it. I can't ignore you because I love you. So that's a problem for me.
We've got a question that we'll get to in here in just a little bit. Let's finish up with the the data, the amount of data. You mentioned, of course, 6 and 7, or 6A and 7. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So this really shows us a couple things. What we're actually looking at here is the HDBaseT chipset. So we can see the max. Whoops. Now we're getting into cable.
Oh, yeah, there's no cable.
My trigger finger a little happy here. No, I lost my screen.
No, I can see it.
I'm sure you can, but I can't. So viewers, see what you did to me. All right. So what we can see here is that the chipset is what is driving the HDBaseT spec and the max resolution and the max length, but you will notice a corresponding relationship to the cable. So if we look at Class B, for example, it's telling us, we should use Cat 6A, and Class C is really good. If we look at Class C, we can see that we can do 4K at 100 meters on a Cat 6A cable, which is pretty rocking. However, it takes both parts of that equation. You have to have a Class C chip, and you have to have Cat 6A cable.
Sure.
Having neither of the other, if that made any sense, neither of the other. Anyway, it's not going to work. Let's take a quick look here. We should look at that screen too. But here we can see these are, we're just talking specifically differences between shielding now, because even within Cat 6, Cat 6A, Cat 7, that sort of thing, even within all Cat 6A cables, we can have some different shielding characteristics. So we can have individual pairs that are shielded. We can have an overall shield. Here we can see this divider down the middle. Bottom line, without getting really, really into the weeds, there's differences. And by the way, I happen to remember I had this slide handy, which is good because there's a lot of forgery. I'm not even going to get into the name game, but we literally just did an install, and it's a local business to me, and the guy is a friend of mine, so I'm not going to name names. And we put together a quote, and he said, well, your Cat 6 cable is kind of expensive. I found this stuff online on some website that has the same name as a river. And we said, well, we prefer you don't do that because, we use stuff that we know works, because if the cable doesn't work, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out why it doesn't work, and that leads to losses for us. So we said, you can do your own cable, but if we have to chase down problems, we're on the clock because, we told you not to get that cable. Sure enough, about a third of it didn't work. Once you started to push data through it, it just started failing, and it would fail intermittently.
Ouch.
Yeah. But,
Moral
again,
of the story, don't buy from Nile.com.
That's right. Don't buy from Nile.com. Bottom line, stickers are cheap. It's really easy to say something past a spec. It's really easy to say something is UL listed. It's really easy to say it's HDBaseT compliant. Moral of the story, it's really easy to lie. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that all cable out there that we don't sell is liars. That would be silly for me to say that. But what I'm saying is that when we sell it, our reputation's at stake. So in the case of this gentleman that bought these 200-foot cables from me, he could have certainly gone his own way if he wanted to, but he didn't hesitate to get ours. He said, no, I know it's going to work if I get it. And you know what? The onus then is on us. And I had every confidence when he got it, it was going to work.
So let's dive into this a little bit. On this picture, of course, you're showing a box of Cat 5e. If a person is going to be doing some networking in their house and they need wire, is that something that you guys would sell in bulk like that to someone, even though you're not doing the project?
Yeah, we sell bulk wire all the time. We actually supply electrical contractors and other AV contractors. It's good for us, even if we, are only making like a penny a foot. It just, volume, is the name of the game, and our ability to buy millions of feet of wire helps us be competitive. So absolutely. In fact, sometimes, particularly when it gets to a really common cable like a cat cable, we'll have remnants. Our guys will be at the end of a box, and they'll have 70 feet left. And now we could keep that and say, well, the next time we need a 70-foot run, but time is money. Guys on the install job, and they're not going to go, oh, I need 70 feet. I can use that remnant. They're taking boxes with quantity. So we end up with these remnants back at our shop, and sometimes we sell those very cheap.
Sure.
Sometimes we sell those below cost because it's just recovery of waste at that point. So sometimes we have those things around. Our local customers love us. And what you can see in this slide, though, is two things. One is there's a UL hologram saying, hey, this thing does in fact pass UL. There's a traceable number. Had a very interesting chat with the guy from UL Labs, and they were talking about how many people are forging UL certifications and how this is dangerous and how they're trying to combat it. But of course, if we're using POH, which I mentioned earlier, is sending power over HDBaseT, that really ups the ante, doesn't it? When you're sending power over a cable, that really does up the level for concern. In terms of purely a performance standpoint, let me go back a few slides here. This is what's called an eye test. And here we can see a PAM16 symbol going by. And this is how we get a lot more data to happen in a short period of time. Instead of just using ones and zeros, we have, 4 bits happening per frame here. So we can see how on the left, we have this nice, open, easy to distinguish pattern. And then on the right, after 100 meters, that's what it looks like. It gets really smashed. And at some point, the receiver can no longer make sense of that. So that's the name of the game. The receiver has to be able to receive that and put it back the way it was supposed to be so that it's meaningful data, and particularly without compression and loss.
So having a better quality cable going up into a Cat 7 compared to a Cat 5, there's just going to be less compression at that 100 meters?
Yeah, less loss. Right. Compression is a property of the device itself where we are compressing the signal, which is a really fancy way of saying we're just taking data away. Ultimately, that's what we're doing. And there's some really cool ways that happens. It looks for, like pixels and says, okay, I can clone these and that and save the data. But at the end of the day, compression is taking something out. Most DJs know that from our, MP3s, that sort of thing. Fundamentally the same thing. So without using compression, what we're trying to do is minimize loss and preserve signal integrity so that we can run a lot of data a long distance and interpret it on the other end as meaningful data.
Okay, so let's get to some of the questions here because they're starting to pile up. And if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. I think they're all coming to me on the Restream chat. So someone who watched our show last week, thank you for watching that, about outdoor movie theaters. They're wondering if this type of a video transmitting methodology would be good for that outdoor movie theater.
I would love to answer that question in somebody else's words. I've talked a lot about my friend who bought this system. I'm going to show you a picture he just sent me because, I think, maybe I will. Okay, let me find the picture and then I'll show you. Anticlimactic pause. Everybody just hold on. This is a picture that he sent me. Using that technology, here you can see he has 2 inflatable screens. He had 2 projectors, and the signal was split by an HDBaseT compliant splitter. And then he ran a cat cable to each of his projectors, which, like the projector we looked at earlier, simply has a jack. You just plug it right in. So he actually sent a video, and I think that you would understand clearly from his video that, yes, this is a great way to do it. And again, bottom line, his show was, I think, on Friday or Thursday. And I said, let's get this stuff there early. We 2-day aired it to get there on like a Tuesday. So we have some time to test and deal with familiarity and just any other issues, whether those issues were logistical or technical. Time is always your friend. And I was just, I was really happy. He plugged it all in and it worked, and he's happy. And then I'm happy, right? So
that's a win-win. That's for sure. Let's see. and I'm going to read it. I don't understand it. Will 6A, which that part I get, carry AES 50?
I don't see why not.
What is AES 50?
AES 50 is a digital audio transport. That's commonly used with, it's very common, for example, with like the X32, M32 Clark Technic ecosystem. But yeah, bottom line, I don't see why you'd have any issue running. I think it would run AES 50 very, very well. We run, I think most of my AES 50 cables are standard Cat 6. But as we've got this new tactical grade Cat 6A, and John, you own some of this tactical grade Cat 6A. It is tactical grade. But let's be honest, what we do is hard on cables. So we're basically in the process of replacing all of our stuff with Cat 6A for AES 50.
And it works so well. You can grab it and you can just wrap that stuff right around your elbow, and it just.
So you're making me cry now. But you know what? If you ever fall in a pit, you could use it to climb out. You know what? Listen, just because we built a nearly indestructible cable, that's not a challenge. If you treat it good, it'll treat you good.
Well, and the other day I slid into the ditch and I went and tied some around the bumper. And
you know, we've had some really cool ideas that we wanted to use for our Platinum Series cables, which of course famously we did the parade and drove over them. We've wanted to do like water skiing videos. In Minnesota, of course, pulling cars out of the ditch is a national pastime when they go in the ditch. So, you know, maybe some future videos showing how tough our cables are. I don't know. We'll see. But
I mean, we could really make this. We could pull some logs out of the woods.
Why not?
I mean, there's just so many Minnesota type
However,
things.
Don't do this at home.
Yeah, okay.
We built a great cable so that it would work for you reliably, but you need to do your part.
Yeah, it's
not
feed
it, care for it. Don't get it wet. Don't feed it after midnight,
yeah,
stuff like that. You know, it's very important. So
let's see. Next one, data recommend not over 300 feet for a lot of Cat 6 type applications. If you need to run video 1,000 feet, what would you recommend for that type of an application?
A prayer. Fiber optic. I would go fiber.
And that would be a completely different system.
You can go miles on fiber. In fact, we did see fiber on that chart. If I go
way
back
down
to
at the bottom there.
Let's see. So here you can see, tens of kilometers on fiber. There are some extended range HDBaseT devices. In this case, I tend to recommend going with a manufacturer that has both a sender and receiver. Match that sucker up. But there are some extended range ones that will advertise 500 feet. I will tell you, I get real nervous over 200 feet, even though I've seen this work 100 out of 100 times, even though I know it works. Boy, I just, again, it's just like abusing your cables. I know that sooner or later something's got to give.
Yep.
So I would say 300 feet, great Cat 6A cable, good chipset. No problem. You want to go more than that, I'd go fiber.
Excellent. And somebody asked if we were live. Yes, this is indeed live. And I know the reason they asked.
We taped this.
The reason they asked is they're wondering if there's going to be ice cream delivered. I'm sorry, there won't be.
Well, the truth is, I don't know. I never know. Like I don't get tips on these things. But just in case I do get company, I'm prepared. I've got these beautiful new stylish masks.
Look at that.
Thank you very much, Tara. And
I feel safer.
I'm not
now.
What's that?
I feel safer because it's not for you, it's for me.
Well, it is. Honestly, that's the whole point. But I'm not even really a fan of wearing it. I honestly don't. But I do. I do wear them. Two reasons. One, I'm trying to take care of others. Two, it's now a law here. But I have a third reason, and I'm actually pretty excited about this. You can see I'm actually kind of enjoying this. Because somebody the other day, I was wearing a mask, and I had sunglasses on, and they didn't recognize me. And it took them a second, and then he said, "Oh, Ben, it's you." And I said, "Yeah, it's me." And they said, "Well, you look so much better." So I think the more of this you could cover, the better. I think
maybe little see-through patches on there, and you could do the whole face. It'd be great.
Yeah, I think let's get here. I got.
Wow, you're ready. You're ready for a meeting there.
I'm a good-looking dude now. I'm a good-looking dude.
Put a dude without ice cream.
Yeah. So
let's see. Yeah.
Anyway, so just in case I do get visitors with ice cream, I'm prepared.
You are prepared.
I have my mask.
Mike.
Thank you, Tara. I have to send her a shout out. I do. I have to do this because I want to do this. You know what I mean? I'm just compelled to say that I happen to know that she looked and looked and looked for a specific fabric and really like went to the ends of the earth to do this. So I am just so appreciative, because if we got to wear these things, you might as well look good doing it, right?
And it does look good. She did a wonderful job. Let's see. Mike from Living Motion Monograms mentions that he sees all over the place that DJs are complaining about their NLFX cables no longer working after they pull their boat with it. That could be. I
haven't seen that yet, so I don't know. Show me, because I haven't seen that yet, Mike. Of course, those who don't know, Mike's a good friend of mine, and I feel very fortunate that I was able to have dinner with him just before really the world locked down, and so I'm kind of clinging to these fond recent memories of people I was able to get together with, and he is one of them. We had a very nice romantic candlelight dinner for two in the Bay Area. But I don't know, Mike. I don't believe you. I think you can. I think you can pull your boat with a cable. I'm not scared. I don't know, but I will say this: we guarantee our cables forever. And if somebody does pull a boat with it and wrecks the cable, we will replace it once. Because then I'm going to say, okay, you made your point. Don't do that again. I mean, it depends on how big your boat is. He lives in the Bay Area. These things could be they're not tanker ships.
Yeah, we're like little 12-foot dinghies compared. And then there's like these things. Yeah, let's bring the whole party out on the boat. And then we're like up here. It's like, no, can only take 4 cans of the 6-pack. You can't bring all 6 in the boat.
That's right. Now we have to social distance. It depends on how big your pontoon is. I think this is a really important place to note, though, that of all the cables out there, cat cables are the most fragile. You should really use caution with these. Even our tactical grade Cat 6A cable, I've seen cheaper Cat 5 cables get broken just by being stepped on. So, no matter what, even with our tactical grade Cat 6As, don't test it. Don't push it, because you're the one who's going to not have a working cable at that time. Again, we'll take care of it, but this is my way of taking care of you now. Mm-hmm. Say, don't push it. Take care of your stuff and it'll take care of you.
Excellent. Okay, so we've covered how to use the devices. We've covered the wires needed for it. We've covered distances. We've covered resolution. Have we covered all the bases?
Maybe so.
We might have. I do believe we did. There was one. The splitter concept. You had mentioned earlier that the transmitter would basically talk to the end device and say, oh, you can only handle whatever resolution, and it would adjust itself. When you're dealing with a splitter, how does that work? Because you mentioned that one gentleman, which we got to look at Chris's video, by the way. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that the video that he was doing 2 different projectors, and if they were one 720, one 1080, how would that work with a splitter?
Okay, so this is a 2-part answer.
Thank you.
We're getting into the Ghost of Christmas Future here. Inside these devices, there are multiple HDBaseT chipsets, and each one is operating essentially independently. So in that case, no problem. And now, of course, we're discussing specific device architecture, which could vary from device to device. In the future, I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to tell you this, but I don't recall being specifically told not to tell you this.
Or they said not to tell, and those are the best ones to tell.
I don't remember. It's a little fuzzy. Maybe they said don't. Maybe they said nothing. I don't know. You know what? That was right before this whole world got locked down, and everything's been a blur since. So I honestly don't remember. There's a new version of HDBaseT coming out where these chips will have splitting capability on board. So at that point, I'm not sure how that gets handled in that scenario. I'm sure they've thought of this because they've been doing this a while now, and they've really got this down. And there's tons of different companies working with HDBaseT, by the way. Kind of everybody's sort of in on it, if you will. All the major manufacturers are kind of working towards this, making this standard great. But in this specific case of the equipment that he has, there are individual HDBaseT chips inside the device. So it's being split prior to becoming HDBaseT, but that's happening internal to the box. So he doesn't have to have a separate splitter and a bunch of different senders. It all happens inside one seamless box.
Excellent. Let's take a look.
I will say, before I play the video, having seen the future of HDBaseT, it's pretty ridiculously cool. It's just going to get better.
Excellent.
So, yeah, let's take a look at this video.
Yeah.
That's the pre-movie music right there. All right, you got it?
We are there.
All right, now he just did this on his phone and sent it to me, and then he did share it to our Facebook page, I think. So no comments on the cinematography here, but I just love the raw excitement.
All right, everybody. My name is Chris Paul, Party People Entertainment. Just here to thank Ben Stowe for the win. We're playing split screens here on Friday, so we needed a solution to run, far distance with the two separate projectors. He hooked me up with a HDBaseT splitter and 200 foot Ethernet cables to go in each direction. So just here in the office, we got this one projector going with these massive, super high quality cables that Ben delivers on time for your event. Thank you very much, Ben. Here's the other projector going, and then here's the other shot on the wall. So thank you so much, Ben, for everything that you do and the technical aspect, and just thank you for making it happen for us here at Party People.
So first and foremost, I want to clarify when he said 200-foot cables, that's 200-foot cable. That's two 200-foot cables.
So 400 feet of total run.
Yep. Each of those cables was 200 feet going in each direction of the projector. And also want to say he had an excellent choice in movie. So
yeah.
So and he thanked me in the video. I'm going to make my own little video here right now, and I'm going to go on the record and saying thank you, Chris, for the opportunity. Super honored that you would trust us, that you would put your faith that what we deliver is going to go out and work and do the job. And I'm really happy it did. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and it looked really, really good with a with knowing how those pieces all work. That combination is going to be an awesome. I'm sure he was very happy with it once he got it in the field. Let's see.
Seemed to be that's where the second picture with the Back to the Future, another great choice of movie. But that was the second picture was the actual event, and he sent it that night. And I love those pictures. I do. For me, at the end of the day, I'm probably not a great executive at the company because I don't get super excited about spreadsheets or reports or, cost center analysis, yada, yada, yada. I love seeing pictures like that. Mm-hmm. I love getting the picture saying, yeah, we nailed it, mission accomplished, customer needed this, boom, it works. Thank you very much. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I get up quite literally every morning to do this.
So he wasn't using the the 515T. That was the one you showed earlier, correct?
Yeah, I think he was. I think one of those was a EH515T, or it was an Optima, but I don't remember what model. I don't know that we sold him either projector. I don't know. I think I don't want to speculate. Anyway, it doesn't matter because they have HDBaseT,
and that's what
the other one was a Panasonic, and that took a little bit more investigating because they call it Digital Link, which has HDBaseT as part of that. We did a little bit of checking, make sure these chips are compatible, and so that again on game day it was just going to work.
Somebody's asking about the difference between like SDI compared to utilizing the HDBaseT type of connection.
Well, now we're taking a major left turn. By the way, I love SDI. I think SDI is a phenomenal way to carry digital video. There's SDI, 3G SDI, 6G SDI, that sort of thing. I know I said I really wasn't a video guy, but I guess you're finding out that I might be a bit of a closet video guy. But anyway, we will not let my other sound guy friends know this, okay? That's just between all of us. Cool? All right, thank you. I don't want to get kicked out of the sound guy club.
Exactly. They'll revoke your license.
SDI, and SDI will carry, I think, like 16 channels of audio, by the way. But that you see very commonly on pro shows between cameras and switchers and that sort of thing. Pros and cons, as with anything, between SDI and HDBaseT. Kind of different animals. At some point, our devices may or may not have SDI on board. Projectors may, Blu-ray players almost certainly will not. Switchers may or may not. So it's almost like that's an entirely separate show on SDI versus HDBaseT. Also 300 feet. Two really good, by the way, we make a great SDI cable too. Two great ways to do this depending. One of the areas that SDI falls really short in, for example, install, is the amount of control and things we can send on to HDBaseT. It's really built more for that, and SDI is built more for, pro camera, that sort of thing. But each, I love them both, and SDI is another thing that, generally speaking, just works.
Nice. You said a limit of about 300 feet with that also. So when you're in a stadium and they're running cameras from one side of the stadium to the other side of the stadium, that must be running that on fiber. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And actually, as we get into some of these higher resolutions, it's the only way to do it. And there are some really cool things that happen once you get on fiber. We used to have old systems called Camplex, but basically where your camera comms and everything are all, tied into one. But yeah, it's almost all that stuff in arenas now is fiber.
Let's see. Another question. Difference between SDI and NDI? I don't know if I've ever heard of NDI.
Network. It's we'll just say it's like SDI, but it's network. We see that a lot, and boy, I'll tell you what, I'm sure glad I didn't prepare for this show. You said it was going to be on HDBaseT.
I did. It is kind of. I
didn't know we had such smart viewers. So
you invited the smart friends tonight. I usually invite.
Thank goodness I didn't sleep through video class. MDI is something we use a lot in install, also for control of PTZ cameras, pan, tilt, zoom, that sort of thing. Kind of an emerging. It's yet another video transport protocol. And I think, to the point of what you said earlier at the beginning of the show, where we're going to try to stick to HDBaseT, we could comfortably do shows on each of these, because each has their reason for existing and the reason for being. And there's also, other video over IP technologies. So this rabbit hole gets real deep quick.
But that gives us enough to go off from.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a nerd. That was fun.
No, I love my nerds. Hey.
Yes, nitrogen equilibrium.
Love my nerds, and I'm glad, viewers. I'm glad you ask good questions. It makes it so much more fun being live. So, but I just wanted to say, yeah, we at some point we got to blow the whistle and say time out. We can't go into every video technology. We got to keep these shows under an hour. People already complain that we talk too much.
Yeah, there is that.
They just need more ice cream in their lives. That's all.
Excellent. Well, Ben, I think we're going to wrap things up here. Our time tonight has gone very, very quickly. That's because all those great questions that were in the chat tonight.
Well, not to turn this into a shill, but if there's one thing our viewers have learned tonight, it's that we make great cables. If there's another thing they've learned, it's that we have tremendous depth in different competencies. And we do have people at the office who are exponentially better at video than me. So if you have a need, whether it's HDBaseT, TCP/IP, video over IP, NDI or SDI, we can help. So there's my shameless plug at the end of the show to say, somebody at our office speaks those acronyms, and we'd love to help you.
Excellent. The link, by the way, if you guys are looking to find out more information about the HDBaseT, in the description for the YouTube video, do a refresh on the page. I put down a link that has those items all searched out, so you can go check those out and find out more about what's out there for options for running video over a long distance. Ben, once again, thank you much, my friend, for putting together some great information.
My pleasure. Thanks, John.
We'll be back here in about 15 minutes with Jay and Brian tonight, talking about what we can do during a blackout for backup music and backup audio. We'll see you in a bit.
Sing Kumbaya.
Over and over.